Hey everyone. So Hordes has finally made a reappearance. This was one of my favorite events because it caused you to think differently, and you had to develop a different type of strategy when going about it because it was unlike any other part of the game. Now, Scopely took Hordes off of the event schedule for a while because of the S-Class power leap, and they said that they rebalanced this by making walkers more powerful, and I guess this video is going to kind of show you what their definition of more powerful is and how I perceive it all. So right now I am going to set up my defense, and I'm going to add in my S-Class toons because I know that their huge stat boost will be great for hordes, as well as Kapoor's active skill is great for healing my team, and having dexterity is really helpful because he's going to take less damage. James is going to do a lot of heavy lifting because when he rushes or just uses basic attacks, he's going to do a lot of damage off of that, especially with collateral too. Kapoor, when he rushes, does maim damage to a line, and that should take out most walkers, I believe, based on how much damage he actually does. And Sean is also a tank. So I am going to leave this up for now. I did switch and defense drop myself down to like 5 Jesus toons, but I didn't really like the hypocrisy of it where some of the players who are asking or really begging for people to drop their defenses, well, didn't. It's annoying to me at the start of Horde matches because you really rely on RNG based on what cards you end up picking up. So my cards are okay, they're not great. So I'm going to use some of my Horde markers now to try and pick up some rarer cards at the beginning just to see if I can get a leg up and get to characters like the Whisperer, for instance, and Shroud, which can hide my walkers from the enemy toons. Just as a quick prelude, I ended up finding a really good strategy that is similar to the one I had before, but I think it's actually better than before, just based on some of the cards that I'm using and kind of how I kind of went about thinking about what I'm finding on defenses and what's been stopping me from winning, other than complete S-class defense teams, which I end up just losing to be perfectly honest. In my opinion, the power leap based off of S-class toons is so high that any walkers that I put out, even with attack boost and defense down, cannot do enough damage to kill these toons, especially when these toons can one-shot some of my most powerful walkers. It just becomes frustrating instead of fun because there's almost no possible way to take down a full S-class team unless you're extremely lucky. This wasn't even a full S-class team, there were just 3 S-class toons, but it proved to be far superior to my Walker Horde team. So instead of wasting my time by continuing to try and beat that team with basic walkers, I decided to flee, and instead I'm going to open up some more card packs and see if I get anything good. And even if I don't, at least I'm still getting walker markers, so this will help contribute to me getting more packs either now or in the future for the next Walker Horde event that goes on. So I just like doing this at the beginning because I really do need some sort of advantage. And there I got some spikes, which is great in order to increase your attack. And that tear gas is amazing. The defense down that it causes really helps you set up for kills. Here you see me, I'm putting in the tear gas right away because by defense downing the enemy, you have obviously a higher chance of being able to kill them, even if they have a very high amount of defense. And right now I'm supplementing my team by adding a lure walker and the AP drain walkers just to try and have some control over the situation. It's still not my ideal setup, but you will get to see my ideal setup later on in this video because that's when I'm going to have more walkers that I can play with basically. I think my alarm went off in that last match, so unfortunately you won't get to see if I won or lost. I'm pretty sure I lost that. I ended up losing a lot of matches at the beginning of this event, and it was pretty annoying. In this match, I'm also going to lose. Part of that's because Amber has an active skill that lets her focus, and then of course she also has follow up, which is a great ability which gives her an extra attack every turn that she ends up killing an enemy. So one of the things that I do like about Hordes a lot is that you can actually take a look at the opponent's defensive setup, which can help you decide what cards to bring into the match. So against this type of team with a Ralito lead, you actually want to hit go on the first turn no matter what, even if you don't destroy a turret, because on the first turn if you put down any walkers, Ralito will apply 600 bleed to them, and that will basically kill your walker by the second turn. So in this Walker Hordes, I actually found the armor plating to be one of my favorite command cards because it causes 100% crit resist for 3 turns, gives bonus HP to that single walker as well as all walkers adjacent. And now I'm getting very close to my ideal setup for Walker Hordes by running the Whisperer and then the Feral Walker beside. The Feral Walker or any walker beside the Whisperer would get an attack bonus. And by adding the armor plating to the Feral Walker as well as the Whisperer, they are immune to crit attacks. I also added spikes to my Feral Walker and Shroud early on in order to provide some protection. And now we're going to look at some specific walkers in order to see the power upgrade that Scopely was talking about. So I'm always going to show first the walker stats that were before the update, then I'm going to show the walker from Survival Road, and finally I'm going to show you the stats on the walker that we have now. So comparing the first picture to the second picture and then this last picture, we notice that there is a big attack bonus from the original walker to now of about 3,000 attack points, but the walker's HP and defense does not increase significantly at all, especially when we compare it to the walkers from Survival Road, which have about 4,000 defense and 4,000 HP. The walkers in Survival Road then need to be burned, bled, maimed, or attacked multiple times to be killed, but in the Horde, it takes one attack, one Kapoor rush, in order to kill these walkers. Here again, we take a look. This is the old menacing walker. Decent walker at the time, especially among just 6 stars and 5 stars. Here is the walker in Survival Road. And now we're going to show the walker that we have now. So similar to the previous one, big attack boost, mediocre defense and HP boost. Feral Walker, this is what we had before the update. This is what we have in Survival Road. Again, he's very ferocious and decaps some of my toons that I run against him. Meanwhile, same pattern again, increase in attack, no increase in defense or HP, so he's probably going to be one-shotted in any Walker Hordes match, which is what's been happening to me. We're looking now at the Terrifying Walker, and it just seems like all the walkers follow the same pattern. I would like to make an Excel sheet in order to see the varying changes to see if it's a percent increase in attack, but I guess not in HP or defense. So as you see here, I'm able to run some coverage at the start and get some kills early on just by being able to hide my walkers, and then adding in that armor plating. It really does protect them from, well, some basic attacks as well as from critical hits. Basically, my strategy is to hide at the start, because if the opponent gets off an attack, well, I'm probably going to lose my Whisperer and my Feral Walker, or really any walker that I end up putting out at the start. I find myself in Walker Hordes to be relying more on my command cards than I do on my walkers, and I actually prefer running fewer walkers than command cards. I just feel like I have a lot more control with my command cards, and if I'm going to lose, I'll know pretty fast because I'll run out of my main attacking walkers, being my Whisperer and my Feral Walker at the start. The other walkers that I use are mostly for control, like my taunt walkers are just to taunt the enemy in order for my Feral Walker to move in for the kill, and the AP drain walkers are there just to keep the opponent from rushing very often. But in the case of James, James doesn't really need to rush in order to apply a high amount of damage. So this was the last attack that I needed in order to reach the final milestone. And of course, after I reached the final milestone, I found the ideal setup for me against most teams. And of course, there would be some minor adjustments based on what the defense is running, but overall, I found a pretty good attack team, and I'll show you that at the end of this video. Right here, I'm going to do my 4 pulls off the wheel, and I start off with a 5-star, okay, Brady, Bert, kind of a typical pull. So this is kind of my typical way of going about the match. On the first turn, I always destroy 1 turret and hit go. Afterwards, I put my Whisperer down on the outside, Feral Walker on the inside. I shroud my Feral Walker, so that way he is hidden and so is my Whisperer. And then I follow up by giving my Feral Walker spikes so that his attack increases, and the Feral Walker is able to apply damage to adjacent toons as well. So on turn 2, I apply Shroud again. I can defense down the enemy, and I can also apply that armor plating to my walkers. Next turn, on turn 3, after hopefully killing at least 1 or 2 toons, in this case it was 3, I can put down 2 taunt walkers, and by giving them armor plating, it is likely that they will taunt the enemy as long as there's no taunt resist, and because they have armor plating, they can't be killed with a critical hit. The bonus HP also allows them to stay alive longer. I supplement this with command cards, so 100% heal reduction as well as disarm. Anyway, that's my Walker Horde strategy. I hope you liked the video. Thanks again for watching.